The week that could change everything for Arsenal. Injuries, title race, and the road to Lisbon. Are you ready for the most important week of Arsenal's season? Because if you are a true Gooner, you need to read this from start to finish. This is not just another injury update. This is not just another article talking about Manchester City or the Premier League table. This is about a turning point, a moment in time where Arsenal can either stand tall and prove they are the real deal or fall apart under the weight of pressure, injuries, and expectations. So grab your tea or your coffee, sit down, and let us talk about what is really going on at Arsenal right now. The hook. What kind of Arsenal week is this? Let me paint the picture for you. Arsenal went into the Southampton FA Cup quarter-final with hope. They had Martin Odegaard back. They had Gabriel fit enough to start. Things were looking up after a very difficult international break that saw key players drop out one after another. But by the time the final whistle blew at St Mary's, the Gunners were out of the FA Cup, knocked out by Southampton of all teams. And to make things worse, Gabriel came off injured in the second half with ice strapped to his left leg, the same Gabriel who had only just returned from a right knee issue. So here we are. Arsenal have lost the Carabao Cup final. They are now out of the FA Cup. Their Champions League quarter-final first leg against Sporting CP is here. Their Premier League lead, which sounds massive at 9 points, is being questioned by everyone from pundits to fans. And Rio Ferdinand is on YouTube saying Bournemouth could be the team that sends Arsenal's title hopes to bed. Does this feel like a big week to you? Because it absolutely is. So what actually happened at Southampton? Let us start from the beginning and break things down properly. Arsenal travelled to St Mary's knowing that the FA Cup was one of the few remaining trophies they could still lift this season. After the Carabao Cup final defeat to Manchester City, winning the FA Cup would have been a great way to heal those wounds and keep the season alive on multiple fronts. Odegaard started the game, which was a positive sign. Gabriel was also given the nod to start, despite having pulled out of the Brazil squad during the international break after feeling pain in his right knee. William Saliba, Martin Zubimendi, and Noni Madueke all made appearances from the bench after also missing international duty. But it did not go the way Arsenal needed it to go. Victor GYOKERES scored the equaliser for Southampton, and Gabriel was partly at fault for the positioning that led to that goal. Then, Shea Charles found the back of the net to knock Arsenal out, and Gabriel was already off the pitch by then, having been replaced in the 72nd minute. The sight of Gabriel sitting on the bench with ice strapped to his left leg was not something any Gooner wanted to see. Arteta came out after the game and gave what many described as a worrying update about his fitness. That was the weekend. Now let us talk about what it means for the week ahead. The injury situation. Who is fit and who is not? This is the part that every Arsenal fan needs to understand clearly. The squad is stretched. There is no way around that. But let us go through each player one by one so you know exactly where things stand. Gabriel's situation is the one that kept everyone up on Sunday night. He had already been managing a right knee issue that caused him to pull out of Brazil duty before the international break. Then he picks up what looks like a left knee issue against Southampton. 2 different knees. Not ideal. But here is some good news for you. Gabriel was out on the training pitch with the group on Monday morning, and Arteta confirmed on Monday evening that Gabriel is fit to play against Sporting CP. So the big Brazilian centre-back will be in Lisbon. That is a big deal. Arsenal's defence without Gabriel looks very different and not in a good way. His presence, his communication, and his ability to win headers and challenges is so important to how this team defends. Having him available tonight is a genuine relief. But you have to ask yourself this question. How long can a player keep carrying niggles before something bigger gives way? How much of a risk is it to play Gabriel when he has been managing his body so carefully in recent weeks? Bukayo Saka, the man that every Arsenal attack runs through. The player who gets fouled more than almost anyone in the Premier League and still comes back for more. Saka withdrew from the England squad during the international break. Thomas Tuchel had said he wanted to manage the workload of some key players, and Saka was one of them. He did not feature against Southampton either. Arteta said before that game that Saka and a few others were close to making the squad but were left at home. Then on Monday, Saka missed training ahead of the Sporting game, and Arteta confirmed the news that no Gooner wanted to hear. Saka will not be available for the Sporting CP first leg. His potential return date is the Bournemouth home game on Saturday, April 11th. Now let us think about this. Saka is one of the best wingers in Europe right now. His pace, his creativity, his ability to win penalties and make things happen in tight moments is irreplaceable. Going into a Champions League quarter-final without him is a significant blow. How do you think Arsenal can cope without Saka against Sporting CP? Can someone like Leandro Trossard or Gabriel Martinelli step up and fill that void? Declan Rice. Declan Rice is another one who returned from the England set-up early. He dropped out before England's 1-1 draw against Japan, and Thomas Tuchel gave an update that probably had a few Arsenal fans biting their nails. Tuchel said that Rice was playing through some discomfort and had been doing so for a while. He said Rice was questioning whether it made sense to keep pushing through at 70% fitness. That is not a great thing to hear about your holding midfielder and one of your most important players. Rice looked tired at certain points in the season. He even admitted last month that he was shattered. This is a player who has given absolutely everything for Arsenal week after week. The potential return date for Rice is Tuesday, April 7, which is tonight against Sporting CP, and Arteta confirmed on Monday that Rice would be available, so he should be in the squad for Lisbon. But again, the question has to be asked, if he has been playing through discomfort, how sharp is he going to be? And how much do Arsenal need him to be at his best tonight? Jurrien Timber has had the most frustrating season at Arsenal in terms of injuries and fitness. He missed the Carabao Cup final with an ankle problem and then withdrew from the Netherlands squad to continue his recovery at Arsenal. Arteta had said he hoped Timber would be fit for the League Cup final, which suggested the injury was not too serious. He was then named as someone who could potentially be in the squad for Southampton, but he was not involved at all. There was some hope he might make the trip to Lisbon, but that hope has been dashed. Timber did not train with the group, and Arteta confirmed on Monday that he will not be involved against Sporting. The potential return date is Saturday, April 11th against Bournemouth. Timber is a versatile defender who can play in multiple positions. His absence leaves Arsenal a bit thin at the back and gives Arteta less flexibility when it comes to managing minutes and rotating. Leandro Trossard. Here is a bit of positive news. Trossard had pulled out of the Belgium squad with an unspecified injury and did not travel with Arsenal to Southampton. But Arteta confirmed on Monday that Trossard will be available to play against Sporting CP. Trossard has been one of those players this season who just gets on with it quietly and does his job. With Saka unavailable, his presence on the left side of Arsenal's attack becomes even more important tonight. He will need to be at his best. Piero Hincapié. Hincapié is one of the newer additions to the Arsenal squad, and he has had an unfortunate introduction to life at the club in terms of injuries. He withdrew from the Ecuador squad recently and was ruled out of the Southampton game. Arteta said he was unsure when Hincapié will return. There is no confirmed return date as of now, which means he joins the list of players that Arsenal cannot call upon. Eberechi Eze suffered a calf injury during Arsenal's Champions League win over Bayer Leverkusen in March and is expected to be out for around a month. He missed the Carabao Cup final, and Arteta said there would be a definitive scan to determine the full extent of the injury. When asked about Eze's progress, Arteta gave an answer that was very Arteta. He said Eze was out, and that because Eze is a special character, he did not know more than that. It sounds like Arsenal are being cautious with him, as they should be. The potential return date is around Saturday, May 7 against Fulham. Mikel Merino is racing against time to play for Arsenal again this season, and also to be fit for the World Cup. He had surgery on a foot injury back in February, and there is no confirmed return date yet. Merino was such an exciting signing when he joined Arsenal, and he had started to show his quality before the injury. His absence has been felt in midfield, especially in games where Arsenal need someone with his physicality and technical ability to control things. When Mourinho does return, you would imagine he will be eased back in carefully, but the hope is that he can contribute something meaningful before the season ends. The title race. What Rio Ferdinand said and why it matters now. Let us talk about the bigger picture. The Premier League title race. Arsenal sit 9 points clear of Manchester City at the top of the table. 9 points. With 7 games left to play. Most people would look at that and say Arsenal have it wrapped up. But football does not work like that. And Rio Ferdinand has reminded everyone of exactly why. Speaking on his YouTube channel, Ferdinand pointed out something that many Arsenal fans might not want to hear. City hold a game in hand. If they win that game, the gap comes down to 6 points. Then there is the small matter of Arsenal versus City at the Etihad Stadium on April 19th. If City keep winning and get close enough before that game, it becomes a real chance to close the gap even further. But the most interesting thing Ferdinand said was not about City. It was about Bournemouth. Ferdinand said that Arsenal's home game against Bournemouth on Saturday, April 11th, is a potential turning point. He said that if Arsenal do not win that game and then have to face an in-form City the week after, it could be, in his words, good night for Arsenal's title hopes. Now, before you get too worried about that, let us add some context. Ferdinand was not saying Arsenal will definitely slip up. He was saying that the pressure of this moment is where experience counts. City have been in this position so many times. They know how to handle it. Arsenal have been close before, but have not crossed the finishing line. He also said something that is worth keeping in mind. He pointed out that Arsenal are 9 points clear with 7 games to go, playing one of the less fancied teams in the Champions League quarter-finals. He said if someone had told you that at the start of the season, you would have bitten their arm off. So yes, it is a tense time. But Arsenal are still in a very good position. What do you think, though? Do you believe Arsenal have what it takes to hold their nerve over the last 7 games of the season? Or do you agree with Ferdinand that City are a dangerous animal right now who could still close the gap? The Manchester City factor. Let us talk about City for a moment because Ferdinand made some very valid points about them too. City have the experience. Pep Guardiola has won the Premier League more times than most managers have come close to it. His players know what it feels like to be in this position and to win from it. When City are in form and confident, they are a completely different team to the one that was struggling earlier this season. City won the Carabao Cup final against Arsenal. That is a boost of confidence that should not be underestimated. Then they went out and hammered Liverpool 4-0 in the FA Cup quarter-finals. That kind of form is the sort of thing that makes the rest of the league nervous. Ferdinand used the phrase that City can smell blood. And while that sounds dramatic, it captures something real about how momentum works in football. City are on the rise at exactly the moment when Arsenal need everything to go right. Of course, City were not perfect in the weeks before those big wins. They won just one of their 5 games before the Liverpool demolition, losing to Real Madrid in the Champions League over 2 legs and drawing against West Ham and Nottingham Forest in the league. So they are not unbeatable. They have shown they can drop points too. But the lesson here is simple. Arsenal cannot afford to start dropping points now. Not when City are in this kind of mood. Sporting CP, what to expect tonight? So with all of that injury news and title race talk in the background, tonight is still about one thing. Arsenal versus Sporting CP in the Champions League quarter-final first leg in Lisbon. This is a huge game. The Champions League is still alive for Arsenal. And despite the injury problems, Arteta will have Gabriel, Rice and Trossard available, which gives the team a spine to work with. Sporting CP are not the biggest name in the competition. Ferdinand himself mentioned that Arsenal were fortunate to draw one of the less fancied teams in the quarter-finals, but that should not lead to any complacency. Sporting have Victor GYOKERES, who has been one of the most lethal strikers in Europe this season. Arsenal fans already got a reminder of how dangerous he is when he scored against them at Southampton in the FA Cup. Wait, actually, that was a different match. Gyökeres plays for Sporting, and he was on the score sheet in the FA Cup game from the Southampton side. Let us be clear, it was a difficult reminder of how sharp he is in front of goal. Gyökeres is the kind of player who can punish any defensive mistake. With Arsenal potentially not at full strength at the back, Arteta will need his players to be focused and disciplined throughout. The question for tonight is this. Can Arsenal get a result in Lisbon without Saka and without Timber while managing the fitness of Gabriel and Rice? What lineup do you think Arteta will go with? The Bournemouth warning. Let us come back to Bournemouth for a moment because it is important. Bournemouth beat Arsenal 2-1 at the Emirates last season. They are a team that plays with energy and confidence, and they do not fear any opponent. When Arsenal travelled to the Vitality Stadium earlier this season, they came away with a 3-2 win, which tells you those games are never comfortable. Ferdinand specifically called out that fixture as a moment where Arsenal could unravel if they are not careful. And when you look at the context, he has a point. By the time Arsenal face Bournemouth on Saturday, they will have just played a Champions League game in Lisbon. They will potentially still be without Saka and Timber. They will be playing at home, which means the pressure to win is even higher. And Manchester City will be watching from above, ready to pounce on any dropped points. These are the kinds of games that define title-winning seasons. The games against the teams you are supposed to beat. The games where nerves can creep in if you let them. Do you think Saka will be fit enough to feature against Bournemouth? And how big a difference would his presence make to Arsenal's chances of winning that game? What does this mean for the rest of the season? Let us zoom out and look at the whole picture. Arsenal still have the Premier League title to fight for. They have the Champions League quarter-final with Sporting CP, and they have a squad that is carrying injuries to some of their most important players. But they also have 9 points of breathing room in the title race. They have Arteta, who has been outstanding in building this team and in managing difficult situations. And they have players like Gabriel, Rice and Trossard, who are fit and ready to go tonight. The Carabao Cup loss to City hurt. The FA Cup exit at Southampton hurt even more in some ways because it was unexpected and it came with another injury scare. But those results do not have to define the season. They can still win the Premier League. They can still go deep in the Champions League. The big question is whether the players who are currently injured can come back in time to make a difference. If Saka returns against Bournemouth and stays fit for the run-in, Arsenal look a completely different team. If Timber comes back too, the defense has more options. And if Rice is fully fit and sharp, the midfield becomes harder to break down. But there are no guarantees in football, and that is what makes these next few weeks so exciting and so nerve-wracking at the same time. A message to the Gooner TV community. To every single one of you who follows Gooner TV, who watches the games and shouts at the screen and argues with your friends about formations and tactics and whether Arsenal are good enough to finally win the title, this is your moment. This is the week that tests what Arsenal are made of. It tests the players, it tests the manager, and in some ways it tests us as fans too. How you support your team when things are hard, when players are injured and pundits are questioning your lead says a lot about who you are as a fan. Arsenal are 9 points clear. They are in the quarter-finals of the Champions League. They have a manager who believes in what he is doing. And they have a squad of players who, despite all the setbacks, keep showing up and competing. So let us be loud. Let us be behind the team tonight in Lisbon. Let us believe that Rice and Gabriel and Trossard and everyone else who pulls on that red and white shirt will give everything they have. And let us use this community to talk about it, debate it, and celebrate it together. Outro. The next chapter starts now. Arsenal's season has reached that point where every game, every training session, and every fitness update matters. The injuries are real, the pressure is real, and the threat from Manchester City is real. But so is the 9-point lead. So is the Champions League quarter-final. So is the chance to do something this club has been chasing for a long time. Mikel Arteta said after the Southampton defeat that he would focus on what was next. That is exactly the mindset Arsenal need right now. Not looking back at what went wrong, looking forward to what can go right. Tonight in Lisbon is the start of that next chapter, a chance to silence the doubters, to prove that this team has the character to match its quality and to take one big step toward a historic night at the end of this Champions League journey. Can Arsenal handle the pressure of this week and come out on the other side stronger? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell us who you think starts tonight against Sporting CP. Tell us whether you believe Arsenal can hold on and win the Premier League title. And most importantly, stay loud, stay proud, and stay Gooner. Up the Arsenal, always.